In this video, I'm going to talk about some really shoddy advertising. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now, it was brought to my attention today that a Ssangyong dealer, who I'm not going to name in this video, and I'm going to deliberately censor their name and contact details out of their advert that I'm going to show you, because I don't think they deserve any publicity for this rather strange, rather poorly informed stunt that they're trying to pull, is advertising that a brand new or pre-registered, depending on which version of this advert you've seen, Ssangyong Tivoli is a much better buy than an MGZS EV, the cheapest new electric crossover in the UK, as they refer to it in the advert, but in the small print we can tell they're talking about the MGZS. I'll show you the adverts in a minute, but the reason I'm highlighting these is because it's just downright misleading. They're making comparisons that are not valid. They're making comparisons that play on tired myths and rumours and stereotypes about electric cars in general. And it just can't possibly be the way forward, no matter which side of the EV argument you're on. Whether you think that the internal combustion engine is forever and we should carry on using them forevermore and there's not a viable alternative, or you're holding out for hydrogen, or you think that you're on board with EV like I am and you think that it's a potentially good way to go in terms of the future of transport. No matter which side of the fence you're on, this is not the way to market it. And in fact, if a seller of EVs was running adverts like this, they would be massively having calls for them to be banned. And it's just not on. And the fact that there's two versions of this advert and one of them seems to have toned down a little bit, but it's still carrying the same sort of tone, suggests that maybe they've been told they're a little bit out of order, but they've decided to go on with it anyway. So let's have a look. You can tell me what you think. If you haven't already, please do click the subscribe button if you like watching my videos and you want to see more. I've reached a record level, over 1,000 subscribers so far, and I think together we can keep that going. There's still a massive percentage of you that are not subscribed that watch my videos, so please do click the subscribe button. It helps me a lot. Thank you. So we've got this first advert then. Just how much cheaper than an EV is the Tivoli LE petrol? The Ssangyong Tivoli 1.6 petrol limited edition. Real savings, over £11,000 cheaper than the UK's cheapest crossover EV. That means when running costs are compared, the EV will only start saving you money 17 years later. And that's without the cost of a new battery or two. Excellent. Less wear. At 200 kilograms lighter, the Tivoli wears its tyres, bearings and suspension over 15% less than the EV. Best warranty, 7 years, 150,000 miles, that's nearly double the mileage cover over the EV. Best choice, instead of renting, you can own the car for just £269 per month with nil deposit. Now if we look in the small print down the bottom corner, which you can probably barely read in this video, that says, based on pre-registered Tivoli LE manual at 14,395. Hire purchased over 60 months at 4.9% APR. Over 18s only, subject to status, blah blah blah. Comparison data provided by Next Green Car for MGZS EV and the Tivoli LE. So where do we start with this then? So it's a pre-registered manual Ssangyong Tivoli 1.6 petrol. Well, first of all, we're now comparing a manual petrol car to an automatic EV, and an automatic Ssangyong Tivoli is in the region of £17,000, £17,500. So there's £3,000 right off the belt end, right? This is not a fair comparison in the slightest. You can't compare a manual ICE car to an EV because by their very nature they're automatic, and you tend to pay a premium for an automatic. So if we're going to compare pre-registered cars with new cars, let's look back to the £18,950 MGZS EV I brought to your attention yesterday. If you haven't seen that video, there'll be a link in the corner where you can have a look. So, this supposed saving that they're trying to sell you, the fact they're telling you this is £11,000 cheaper, when in fact they're not comparing like with like, and it's actually only £4,500 cheaper. £4,500 worth of fuel savings really shouldn't take that long in an EV. If we just look at fuel savings alone, I mean, this thing, you'll be lucky if it does 40 miles to the gallon. So that'll cost you around 14 pence per mile to run in fuel alone. If you're on the worst home electricity tariff, you're going to be running your EV for about 4 pence a mile, and that's probably about as bad as it gets. If you're on a good tariff, I mean, something like Octopus Agile, at times you'll even get paid to use your car, but in real terms you'll probably be paying a penny a mile, a penny and a half a mile for your electricity if you're charging at home. And the only time you'll get anywhere near 10, 11 pence a mile, not 14, is when you're using public rapid chargers, which, as I said in my Instavolt charging video, you're not going to do that. That's not going to be how you're going to charge your car. And then there's this mention of a new battery or two. Well, that's just preposterous. I mean, the 10-year-old Nissan Leaf that I picked up on behalf of a mate that we did a video about the other day, its battery is still in working order. It's a bit degraded, but still in working order. And the Leaf suffers from worse battery degradation than most other EVs on the market. This stereotype, oh, you'll need to replace the batteries every 10 minutes, it's just nonsense, and it's been proven time and time again to be nonsense. To use that as a marketing point is ridiculous. I would wager there'll be more chance of you having to replace an engine in a Ssangyong than there would be having to have a battery or two in an EV. And the next ridiculous claim, at 200 kilograms lighter, it wears its tyres, bearings and suspension over 15% less. There's absolutely no evidence to back that up whatsoever. Nothing suggests that the EV will wear its tyres, bearings and suspension quicker. Some people see very, very little tyre wear in their electric cars. And bearings and suspension will be rated for the weight of the vehicle. So suggesting that they'll wear it quicker just because the car's a little bit heavier, absolute nonsense. And 200 kilograms is surely, I mean, that's absolutely nothing. That's probably less than the weight of the battery. So I'm not sure where the extra weight has gone in the Ssangyong. Okay, warranty, fair enough. That's a fair point. It does have a longer mileage warranty. Can't argue with that. And the financing thing, yeah, okay, I guess if you put this on hire purchase, because it costs a bit less to buy outright, you'll own it after 5 years. Fair enough. I don't know what finance deals are available on the MG ZS EV. On 5-year hire purchase, yes, the payments will be a bit higher than this because it costs a little bit more to buy. But as we've already seen, you can buy one for £4,000 more than this, not £11,000 more than this. So I don't know if someone's told them how ridiculous this is, but they've revised this advert. Here's the next one. So we're now looking at the 1.6 petrol automatic limited edition. Now in the small print we can see this is £17,245 on the road. So that's a whopping £8,250 cheaper than the UK's cheapest electric crossover, except it's not, because as I demonstrated to you, you can buy one for £18,950, so it's, it's £1,700 cheaper. Wow. It won't take you long to recoup £1,700, and it certainly won't take you 12 years, and that's just, without any foundation at all. But I noticed that they have dropped all the other claims in this one, so that's the only one they've got. And I guess if they compare this one to the list price of the MG, which is before the government grant, is like getting on for 30 grand, they'll maybe just about be able to run this one past the ASA. It's not quite as bad. I do notice that the Facebook page that the post that this was attached to made reference to owning your car after you paid the finance, and yet this is actually on a PCP deal where you have a big final payment of £5,822 if you want to own your car at the end. It's not an automatic ownership. If you don't pay the final payment, you're going to have to give the car back. Maybe a little bit here or there. I'm not sure what the FCA would think of that, but it's not as offensive for sure. But it's still not a valid comparison, and I'm amazed that someone signed this off and thinks this is a good way to try and sell what is a pretty average internal combustion engine car. So there we are. What do you think? Are you going to be rushing out to buy a Ssangyong Tivoli? I mean, if you are, all the power to you. But I would definitely give this dealer a swerve. I think it's an absolutely outrageous way to try and market an internal combustion engine car, selling it as a more sensible alternative by presenting really flawed arguments. There's no doubt that EVs aren't perfect, and there are a lot of things you need to consider before you make a purchase. But there's no way you should be getting presented with a side of the story that looks like this by someone that's trying to sell you a car with a petrol engine. And just like if, this was an advert for a Tesla and it was making out that it's going to purify the air as you drive down the road and stuff like that, it's just not true. You can't print that and say that and use that as a means to convince someone to buy something. As always, let me know what you think in the comments. I think this one might be a little bit controversial for a few different reasons, but I think you can all agree that this is definitely not the way forward. This is not the way to sell cars to people. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.